Hi, welcome to Token Topics. We're going to dive into some latest XRP news. There's some great news happening in China right now, which could open up a lot of possibilities for XRP and the rest of the crypto market. We're going to look into that, some new licenses for Hong Kong. Also, despite the fight of what's going on with the SEC appeal, I want to go into some nitty-gritty information. We're going to hear from somebody who's very knowledgeable. Also, words from John Deaton. So this is actually very good news for XRP holders. You're not going to want to miss that. Also, a major exchange is now accepting XRP deposits. That's a huge victory. And some incredible news over the Bank of International Settlements and XRP. If you're an XRP fan, please watch the video all the way to the end. You're not going to want to miss this. If you do enjoy the content, subscribe so you can stay up to date. And don't forget to hit the like. Remember, I'm not paid for or sponsored by Ripple. Let's go ahead and dive in. Alright, XRP fans, this is very exciting. Ripple joins the BIS Taskforce for cross-border payments. And all this does is it shows proof what a lot of us have suspected, that Ripple would be working with the BIS. So yesterday, XRP was officially welcomed by the Bank of International Settlements. BIS is a member of its Cross-Border Payments Interoperability and Extension Task Force. This task force operates under the Committee on Payment and Market Infrastructure, CPMI, and aims to align cross-border payment systems with G20 goals by enhancing accessibility, extending operational hours, and promoting interconnectivity among different systems. Remember, Ripple's all about interoperability. They have that mastered. Continues that the group aims to facilitate smoother collaboration between various payment methods. The Bank of International Settlements stated that CPMI is working to bring together the relevant stakeholders via joint working groups, workshops, consultations, and surveys to ensure both strategic perspective and the required subject matter expertise is available to the program. Now, what is the mission? Let's get into the mission. So the mission of PI Task Force is to simplify and expedite cross-border payments. It envisions improved accessibility and extended operating hours for payment systems, which will help it better collaboration between different systems. Ripple, along with MasterCard and SWIFT, will collaborate, boom, right there, to enhance payment system coordination. Now, this is great news. Despite the SEC appealing, Gemini opens XRP deposits and trading following Ripple Labs' partial victory. Today, crypto exchange Gemini announced support for Ripple XRP, allowing customers to deposit but not custody the asset on its platform. The New York-based exchange said Thursday it was adding support for the blockchain because it was an important step on our mission to unlock the next era of financial, creative, and personal freedom. Very cool, Gemini. The XRP Army salutes you. Now, I'd like to go over this topic that seems like it's not good news. But just wait a minute, because I'm going to show you a clip where John Deaton clarifies some things for us. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. So this is a very important topic to go over, though. The SEC will appeal XRP ruling in case against Ripple. So a federal judge ruled that while Ripple's direct sales of XRP to institutional investors violated securities laws, its problematic sales to retail investors through exchanges did not.
First mover, the SEC said in a court filing that the regulator will file an interlocutory appeal of a judge's ruling on Ripple's programmatic sales of XRP. Joining us now to discuss is Michael Seelig, counsel at law firm Wilkie, Farr and Gallagher. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Good to be here.
All right, walk us through what's going on here. I think that we were all expecting this appeal to come. What are some of the key takeaways?
Yeah, it was expected. You know, it's a game of chess here, so it's always hard to say, but many in the industry saw it coming. Essentially what's happening here is that there's still more to the Ripple case that needs to be going to trial. And so there are these aiding and abetting claims, and there are also remedies in terms of what the penalties essentially will be for the violations. Because if you remember, the court did find that there were securities transactions in the case of the institutional sales. And so all of that would still be going to trial. What the SEC wants here is an appeal with respect to the judge's ruling on the programmatic sales, which were the sales on exchanges and blind transactions, which people have been characterizing as the retail transactions, and then the distributions to employees and other grant recipients. The court had found that those were not securities transactions. And so the SEC wants to appeal those points. And they're really focused on the district court split, if you will. We had the Rakoff decision in Terraform a few weeks ago, and we've also had a number of other cases that are kind of citing to that. So there's the Mashinsky action, and that case has been referenced there. So there's really this dispute, and the dispute comes down to whether you should separate out the token, which both courts agree is not in and of itself a standalone security or an investment contract. But the Rakoff court essentially has said that you can't separate out the token from the economic reality of the protocols and other facts. And so it in a sense kind of represents the investment contract. And there's some case law supporting this. It's a bit of a dispute as to what extent that holds. You know, if you take out certain facts, does that change the analysis with respect to the token itself? But the key issue is going to be whether the analysis around the transactions that were separated out by Judge Torres was correct. And in particular, whether the third prong of the Howey test, or the expectation of profits based on the efforts of others, whether that really is satisfied with respect to these programmatic sales, and then whether an investment of money, another prong of the Howey test, was satisfied with respect to the distributions to employees. And if the court, the appellate court, were to take this interlocutory appeal up and decides that those prongs were not satisfied, it goes back down on remand to Judge Torres, and she could very well determine that other prongs of the Howey test are not satisfied. So this could be going back and forth for a bit. It's not necessarily going to result in XRP being deemed to be security in all instances.
Oh, Mike, nice to see you, by the way, but let's just zoom out for a moment. Like, what do you think is going to happen here, right? Because there were basically two reactions to the first decision, right? There was sort of like the Ripple people, and then various parts of the crypto were like, yay, it's great, we won. And then there was like a whole other camp that was like, oh no, like we didn't win, there's a lot more to come. So I guess the question is like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, what's your prognosis here?
I think it's possible that it goes back down on remand. You know, a lot of us have been really focused on this common enterprise prong for these programmatic sales. Even if there is a reasonable expectation of profits based on the efforts of others, there's no common relationship between Ripple and the purchasers. And so it's going to be really tough, in my view, to get past that. And so I do think XRP ultimately is still deemed in these types of transactions to be a non-security, but it very well may go back and forth and go up to the Supreme Court. I think on the actual distributions to employees, the SEC itself and guidance is kind of taken the view when there's no bargain for consideration, so that the persons that on the employee side are not contributing to an employee benefit plan, for example, and receiving tokens or securities, that's typically not deemed to be a contribution of tangible and definable consideration. So I think it's going to be hard as well for the SEC to backtrack on prior positions that it's taken, and also that it's not necessarily really clear in any case law. So I do think that issue actually could go in favor of Ripple right away. But the programmatic sales, it's a trickier issue, just in that I think other prongs of Howey really should be analyzed in that case.
Michael, this partial win has already been referenced in other cases. I think Coinbase most recently referenced this in one of their responses to the SEC. How might the appeal affect all of these other cases that are now using this as part of their arguments against various different regulatory bodies?
The biggest impact is going to be on Coinbase and Binance. Whether this appeal goes one way or the other, it's going to take a while. And so I don't know the timing is going to be important here. Coinbase just filed its motion to dismiss a few weeks ago or last week. And so that's going to be decided in the, near term, and likely before there's any sort of appeal here. And of course, we also have to have the Second Circuit grant the appeal. So who knows if there will even be an appeal. I think the decision in Coinbase is going to be important in terms of this motion to dismiss. If it goes Coinbase's way, that's going to be even more pressure against the SEC, because we've now had another court really erring on the side that these tokens aren't securities. There may be instances where they're sold as investment contracts, but the large majority of these transactions are not investment contracts. And I don't see a huge win for the SEC even on the appeal. I think this goes back down on remand, and Judge Torres has another opportunity to say that there's no common enterprise. Paul Graywall said essentially you can substitute any of the tokens in the Coinbase complaints for XRP, and really the analysis holds. So I think Coinbase will continue to make that analysis with respect to the full Howey test, and not just focusing on that one prong, and they have strong arguments there. So I don't think this actually, no matter which way it goes, is going to help the SEC here. I think Coinbase has all of the arguments it needs to say that these are not securities.
Now, that was an excellent video, and it reassures us. I believe everything's going to be okay. Now, I do think that it might go back and forth, just like he was stating. He seemed like he was very sharp in knowing what is going on. I see that possibility, bouncing back and forth, even going possibly even to the Supreme Court. But ultimately, we're in the win situation. Anybody who's holding XRP, we're going to come out victorious. All they're doing is just trying to drag us through the mud, as it seems a little bit more. But again, let's go ahead and hear this clip from John Deaton. This was tweeted out by Riz XRP. Can't minimize Judge Torres' ruling on XRP not being a security. Let's roll it.
The reason I did this is I wanted to just kill all the nonsense out there where everybody is acting like the Torres decision somehow has been minimized, okay, or trivialized because of the Rakoff decision. And the great thing to me, the great irony, is that some of these people, right? We know people like Joe Lubin and others. They supported this case against Ripple, and they supported the case against XRP. Those people called XRP a security. They tweeted it out. They celebrated it. They were like XRP holders. They laughed at us. They said we're going to lose. And be careful what you celebrate, support, and asks for, because according to her decision, all those people that bought ETH or bought other tokens, who are venture capitalists, who are purchasing those tokens at that token factory, for example, all of those under the law constitute illegal securities according to the Torres ruling. So be careful what you ask for. And what ended up happening is good guys won, bad guys zero. Next.
Finance is always moving. But is it really moving forward? Or is it just stuck in the same old cycle? Crypto solutions are transforming finance, making it faster and more efficient than we ever thought possible, moving us all into a dynamic new era. Ripple. Crypto means business.